Everyone's probably started coming out with the video just not even 48 hours before the next BNR update on 23rd of March 2026, which is this coming up Monday. I'm just going to talk about the formats, how the standard, modern, and legacy format, how often possible, what kind of changes I can see being made in the formats. I'm going to talk about standard first, as it is probably the healthiest it's been in about a year. Because starting with we got right after right around Pro Tour Final Fantasy last year, which would have been last May or June. We just got a bunch of bans, like mostly like cards that we got, like mostly due to like how good the prowess decks were in standard about a year ago. We've had bans almost every cycle since. So the first group of decks I'm going to talk about are the Badgermole Cub decks, so Mono Green Landfall, four color the Orboya decks, and then Bandit Rending. So Mono Green Landfall is probably what people would call the best deck in the format. So you get a bunch of lands that just you can sacrifice to two different lands like Escape Tunnel, Fatal Passage, and Promising Vein, and then you get Ice Toe Explorer that lets you play land cards from your graveyard, gives you additional land drop, and then mills you for one whenever you get landfall. Might Form Harmonizer, double like landfall doubles a creature's power when. And then you get Saw's Chocobo, and you get Badger Woke up to Earthbend. And Boston Sea Earthbends, it's just a really solid aggro deck. Just kill you. You just put a bunch of power fast. And then Bant Airbending's another sick deck, which is like a wild combo with like Doc Arlock, Aang, Swift Savior, and then Appa. It just makes a bunch of power fast. And then Simic Auraboroid, again, makes a bunch of power fast with Auraboroid and Craterhoof Behemoth. Just makes a pretty solid deck. Four color deck is pretty similar, except it just get our Druid's Charm, and you get a bit more targets for Nature's Rhythm. The next group of decks I was talking about are the three. Is it decks? Is it prowess? Is it lessons? And is it spellmentals? So the prowess deck is pretty similar to deck as it was when we had Corey Steelcutter in the form of. We get Slickshot Elder, Elusive Otter, and then Eddie Crab, I think, is a relatively new addition to the deck. But just running a bunch of cheap instants and sorceries to refill your hand and get prowess triggers. And then some she's telling to buy stuff back and make you more otters as well. It's not really. I feel it's very similar to what the deck looked like when we had Steel Cutter in the format. We probably haven't gotten too much for the deck since. It's again a solid deck. I don't know why it just popped up again, but it's really good. Then the next deck is a deck that came up at I believe Worlds this year, not long after Avatar came out, but is it lessons? So you got a bunch of like lessons. Cumulative Wisdom's a really good card. You get Monument to Endurance too, and Artist Talent. Artist Talent lets you discard a bunch of cards whenever you cast instants or sorceries. Monument to Endurance really pays you off for discarding cards, so it's just you can have just like explosive turns. I feel the deck's not as popular, or it's not as broken as it was a few months ago, but the format adjusted to it. It's a pretty cool deck still. And then the next deck I'm talking about is this. It's Elementals. It's a deck that I've played a bit for the past like week or two. But you cast a bunch of cheap instants or sorceries, which is what his decks like to do anyways. Then cast Hearth Elemental or Eddie Crab for cheap, and then which that thus lets you cast Thunderflock for cheap and just bounce the board. So it's a pretty cool deck. Three different Izzet decks. The last bit of decks I'm going to talk about here are the two blue black decks, and then the mono white deck. So Dimmer Excruciator has been a deck that's been around for I feel a bit, but it's just like Deceit and Orwin made the deck a lot better. With Superior Spider, you can like put Doomsday Excruciator or Deceit into the graveyard. Well, I mean, Deceit puts itself into the graveyard because of Evoke. Then just copy it with Superior Spider-Man. Pretty solid deck. And then Sorry, I guess you could also just like X almost both players' libraries, and then you mill them out with Restless Reef. And then next deck, Old Faithful for me, dimmer mid range. I put up a bunch of different numbers with the deck. We got another cut down in requiting hex. Get enduring curiosity, Deshaun's Tidebender, flood pits drowner, deep cavern bat, and a bunch of cheap ways to enable Kaido pretty much. The last deck I'm going to talk about is a relatively new deck, but it's the mono right aggro deck. It's a bunch of cheap creatures, can make your creatures big by just casting a bunch of spells in a bunch of spells in a turn with Appa here, Momomo, sorry. So it's imagine just puts a bunch of different punch of crap power on the board pretty quick. Anyway, standards are pretty healthy formats. I can't see anything being banned in it, especially considering like how stable the format's been the past like few months. I think it's fine. And then modern, I feel it's another format that's super fine. Like I've read the ban amulet of vigor stuff a bit again. Like the two best decks in the format are Flage decks and I guess Fable the Mirrorbreaker decks. But there's not really as much innovation going on in the format right now. But at the same time, it's kind of the format people would just play what they like and just doesn't really change as much. There's probably some cards I'd like to see unbanned in modern. Maybe some stuff from like relics, cards that are like relics on the ban list from the early days of like the initial ban list or the super early days. Like I believe like all the for decks for cards that have been on the ban list super early, like the five artifact lands like Ancient Den, Great Furnace. What are the other ones again? Ancient Den, Great Furnace, Vault of Whispers, Tree of Tales, and then See the Synod. Like those have been on for a while. I believe ever since the format came out. Punishing Fire was always Jite, Skull Clamp, Sensei's Divining Top, and then Rite of Flame and Ponder. And Mental Misstep, I guess, too, as well. And Hypergenesis, sort of like those cards that have been on the format. Like on the ban, and Glimpse of Nature's been on for a while. Since ever since the start of the format as well. But I guess out of all of those, Artifact lands are probably still just too much for the formats. Glimpse of Nature's probably fine. I mean, if you're just casting Glimpse and just playing a bunch of elves, these Ballmasters will just kill them. Like the format's probably just well adjusted to that. Mental Misstep should probably stay on. Ponder might be too much, although Preordain got unbanned and was fine. Punishing Fire is probably safe to come off. Rite of Flame and the Seething Song probably just too much for the format. Makes Storm too good. Sensei's Divining Top is probably not a broken card, but the issue I have with it, it was just slow the format down too much. So people is always topping. So I think just keep it on for that. Skull Clamp should probably stay on. GT is probably fine. And then Birthing Pod and Second Sunrise have been on the ban. Well, I guess Dark Depths is another card, sorry, that could probably come off the ban list and be fine. It's not really. Yeah, I don't think it would really do anything. It's probably just too slow for the format. I don't think it would do anything. And then I think Dig Through. Well, that's right, Deathrite Shamans and so Deathrite Shaman, Birthing Pod have been on for a while. I think both are probably fine to come off. I don't think Punishing Fire should be on the BNR list anymore. Same with like I think Blazing Shoal could probably come off. It's like it's just the only way it's really broken is an infact where you're just like exiling like a Progenitus to make your turn one infect creature really good. If it's just like if you have to play Progenitus in your deck to make your instant like your free instant good, it's probably just fine. So if I had to just end of the day, if I had to choose some cards, I'd probably find to unban. You could probably unban Blazing Shoal, Dark Depths, Deathrite Shaman, Webs of Nature, and it was always GT. Like none of the fast mana should come off. None of the artifact lands should come off. Punishing fire's not really doing anything. And then Skullcamp's probably too good. And then second Sunrise and Sentence Divine Top should just stay on for due to like just taking the turn, making tournaments take too long. Yeah, again, no bans, but I went over everything that could be unbanned. In Modern, I think Legacy, I'll admit I haven't kept up with the format too much the past few months. But again, Oops All Spells is a deck that continues to be legal in the format, but people continue to hate. So maybe it's time to ban that card out of ban something like from that deck out of the format. Maybe like Undercity Informer or Balustrade Spy. It's like I don't know. It's not a deck people enjoy having in the formats. So it's probably just time to ban it, maybe. Like I haven't. Let's see. There's like I feel, and I think the thing with Legacy is like it's almost at the point where I think people are pretty happy with it, because it was just like a bunch of stuff out of the Blue Black Tempo deck that were just really good. Like Tempo reanimated because it was just like it ran like a really good Tempo package, but Entomb allowed you to run a small reanimated package. So Entomb, Grief, Psychic Frog, and then Troll Cast and Doom. The cards just got banned out of that deck. Deck is probably just better. Deck is probably just a lot more reasonable now, but I don't know. I guess that's all I really have. I haven't really been keeping up. Like I mean, Pioneer not not an RCQ format anymore. So it's not really we're not an RCQ, not an RC or a Pro Tour format. So it's no real reason to innovate in the format. So it's kind of just stagnant. I haven't looked at Hopper or anything like that past bit, so can't really have an opinion on it. But anyways, thanks for watching.